And recording. I think I've decided that maybe I'll just start by saying this. I think I've decided that I'm not going to do like a proper intro for every episode. I think I've decided, like, even with my YouTube videos, people just prefer it if you just get into it. You know, sometimes you click on something and people just like ramble for 10 minutes beforehand about nothing. And it's like, that's not why I clicked on this video. So let's just start. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. I think that's a great way to start, purely because people just, they want to just click on the video to hear what's happening. They don't really need that intro again or to reintroduce, what's happening, because they're already there for a reason. So, but I'm good. I've just been flat out working. It's coming up to Christmas, so the deadlines are getting shorter, and so's the amount of time to Christmas. So busy. What about you?
Yeah, much the same. Everything is due yesterday at the moment. And I mean, particularly down here, I suppose this is probably the first podcast we're recording where I'm actually allowed outside of my house for more than an hour a day. So the coming out of lockdown, the rebound has been really big. I suppose one positive is that it was sort of like a blanket ban on photography with the lockdown, so it's not like the work was going somewhere else. It was just all waiting for us when we came back, which was good. But yeah, we're well and truly back to it. Something exciting, actually. I don't know if I've even really spoken to you in depth about this, but I've just, as of the last couple of weeks, I've scaled back my hours. I'm doing 4 days a week at work now, and that just means I've got an extra day. I just want to focus really hard on all this stuff, on the videos and the podcast, and I want to just really scale it and just take it more seriously. So that's been really exciting the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So if you're going to do that, does that mean that you have your Saturday, Sunday off every week? So you're at still the moment, technically working the 5 days?
At the moment, I'm, much to Jem's dismay, I'm pretty much working 7 days, but the Saturday, Sunday, I try and work. I'm still getting up early every morning, and I try and do as much work as I can before, let's say, like lunchtime, like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So if I've got something in the afternoon, or if we've got something in the evening, or I just I need to give my beautiful wife some love and attention, that I can do that. But at the moment, I'm just, because I am so fired up about it, it just feels like anything else that I do, I just feel guilty. Which I know is not sustainable forever, but it just feels like I should, and I want to be, shooting or editing or doing something. Unfortunately, there's been a few sort of shoots that I've planned to go out and film video wise that just keep cancelling or rescheduling, which is a bummer, but that's something that I can't control, and it just means I have to get creative to try and find something that I can just do here just to make my quota for the week. But yeah, going forward, I'm super pumped about it, and I was a bit uncertain at first, but I really feel like it's the right choice.
Yeah, I think and that's the thing, the more that you do creatively, I think the more that people will notice, and then they will book you for more of that freelance stuff, so a lot of the times people book you on the work that you've already produced. So if you are doing something that is creative for yourself or just for a creative outlet, and you display that you're doing it, people can see that you love it, or that maybe you're interested in a certain field or a certain type of photography or videography, and they'll book you for it because they'll say, hey, yeah, that was really good. I just want the exact same as that, except they want to be in it, not you. So I think it's a good thing to be creative and I guess just get stuff done.
I think that's something that I've probably, indirectly I've learnt from you, because it just seems like you it seems like you're always shooting something, and I can just picture from a client's perspective, or for someone trying to looking for a photographer. You don't want to book a photographer that's sitting around doing nothing, do you? If you see that guy who's working all the time, and you're doing your stuff with the Broncos, or you've got the sportswear stuff, or I hate to say it, when I'm used to work in retail, the boss of the company, he used to come into the store and he had this saying, and at the time I hated it, but the more I look back on it, the more it's so true. It was, being busy brings business, the 4 Bs. And he used to come into the store and he used to say, I don't want anyone standing around. I want to make sure everyone's always doing something. It was a sneaker store. So it was like, okay, what do? You run around, you wipe the same shelf 10 times, or you pick up the shoe and you pretend. But he's like, always be doing something, because no one wants to walk in if everyone's just
and you're just
standing around waiting.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's true. Right. I hate to say it, but it's true. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that that will come from the channel. Not that that's the point. I'm not doing the channel to try and book freelance jobs, but I'm kind of I don't know if we have spoken about this off camera, but my dream would be for the channel to allow me to do exactly the sort of shoots that I want to do. And even if I can't get paid to do that shoot, let's say there's a local business that I really like that maybe couldn't afford to book me for a shoot. If I could make money from making the video, that'd be amazing, because then I could just literally just pick the stuff that really excites me, I would really have fun doing. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So what else? What are we talking about today? What do we got?
Okay, got a couple of things I want to talk about today. Maybe let's ease into it. We'll leave the awkward stuff for later. We've already done. I feel like we've done a little bit of that in the last couple of episodes. I've confronted you already, and what was the first one? There was something in the first episode. I can't remember now. It was so long ago. That was like, Anyway, it's been a little while in between drinks. So the first thing I want to talk about is the advances in camera technology. So every 6 months there's a new camera, and the boundaries just get pushed further and further. And at a certain point, I just think, how much better can a camera get? Like, we don't really need, cameras now have 40, 50 megapixels in a lot of the professional cameras. That's a big RAW file. Like, how quickly can our computers and our hard drives catch up to all of that? Or, cameras are shooting 4K, 6K, 8K now. It's like, there's only so far that sort of stuff can go. So I've got a few ideas. I don't know, I've sort of sprung this on you. Off the top of the head, do you have any ideas for what you think might be the next level of advancement in features for new cameras?
Yeah. Well, I think the cameras are kind of dictated by the rest of the electronic game, right? Like you had 4K TVs before you could realistically have a 4K camera, or an accessible consumer camera that could shoot 4K. And then now, a lot of cameras just shoot 8K, whether they downsample it to 6 or 4K. It's still shooting just such high resolution. And it was only, 5 to 10 years ago where you would need a medium format or a large format camera to actually produce those things. And I don't know the numbers on how much that stuff costs, but it was unattainable. You would have to get out a bank loan, a large one, sell your car, or I don't know what you had to do to get the money to fund it, but it was a really expensive thing to try and get. And I think traditionally in photography, it was always a wealthy person's game. So whereas now it's so accessible, and the features are just so ridiculous that even a lot of the entry level cameras, even like vlogging cameras like the ZV-1 and stuff like that, they still shoot 4 times slow-mo, or like 60 frames a second stills, just crazy stuff that that I still can't comprehend, you know. And I love the tech side of stuff, and I read so much into it, and you know that I just love the numbers side. But yeah, to try and understand what they do next, you know, I know now they have animal eye autofocus,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. And even eye autofocus in itself was such a big step, you know, because when you look at an image, like if the eyes are in focus, that in the back of your mind, it means that the person or the subject's in focus. So
It
to
means
have
the
that
photo is correct.
automatically,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, technically correct. But yeah, I guess it's crazy. I'm not sure. I have no idea where it could really go. I mean, it'll just be resolution bigger, shutter speeds faster, slow motion ability slower. I guess they're the things that they've already leveled up on, but I think that's what they'll just keep trying to push, because they went with the smaller bodies, which were, I guess, meant to fit in your hand better. But then, you know, a lot of the professional shooters are saying that the bodies are too small, so now they're like building them a bit bigger again now. Or, you know, if you're building a video rig, you're adding a lot of stuff to it because it's too small.
Yeah. It's funny. It goes backwards to go forwards.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to hit you with a few, and I want to get your opinion. This is not based on any research whatsoever. This is just based on the thoughts that I have in the shower. This is a really big one. You touched on the IAF. Obviously, complete game changer. Particularly, this is something that I've been really enjoying coming from, a 5D Mark III that I've shot for 5 or 6 years, stepping up to Sony mirrorless now. Like I can't even believe it. You know, it's like a different. It's quite literally changed the game. Having said that, there are still, I'm still sort of getting used to, because a lot of what I do in particular is not just looking for a person's eye. So there are, or, let's say you're shooting a person in a crowd or a cafe or something, and you don't really want the camera to just guess which eye or which person to pick up, or when to drop focus on one person, pick it up on another. I genuinely think, again, based on no research whatsoever, I think the next level of this is going to be, they're going to put a sensor to track the movement of your eye in the EVF, so you could focus the camera with your eye. How insane would that be?
So I'm going to blow your mind here. That actually has already happened. And it was in film cameras in the EOS 3, like a 35mm camera. Yeah, so the Canon made a camera. It was called Eye Control, and wherever you looked, it would focus. So I currently have two of the EOS 3s. Yeah, dude, it's. Did you say
film
true.
Camera?
Film, yeah. I have 2 EOS 3s that have that exact thing. Let's have a look.
That is not true.
It's 100% true.
35mm film.
Yeah, exactly. So my current one of my current cameras, actually, this is the EOS 5. So this does not have the eye control, but my other one, the EOS 3, has the eye control. Yeah. So
it's like an analog.
You can turn it off and on. It is, but it's like still an electronic. Something happens. I don't know. But when I look in, it focuses, and the red dot actually comes up like where. So sometimes if you think you've got focus, if you're half shut, and then all of a sudden you accidentally like look left or look right, like it'll pick up on your eye and then be out of focus because you've looked at the wrong thing. Yeah. But yeah, the EOS 3 did it. This is the EOS 5, but my EOS 3's in the cupboard or whatever. But yeah, man, it's unreal. And the reason they stopped doing it was because it was so expensive to put this computerized technology into a prosumer body. I think the 1V had it as well. So, but we can research it, or someone will probably already know the exact details. But yeah.
Oh my God.
So
no joke. I was like,
it has happened, but now they haven't done it.
I was like, I thought I was dropping a bomb on you. I thought I had invented something, and I was like, we're gonna refer to this video.
This is
in
it.
4 or 5 years, and you're gonna look back and
Yeah.
you're gonna say, Peach was the oracle, and he knew what was coming. And no, because sometimes I'm shooting and I just think I'm literally. I suppose it's tricky because, particularly with the mirrorless, a lot of what we do now is you shoot away from your body. You're not just constrained to having a camera up to your face now. So I suppose there are certain limitations there, but like sometimes I just think, oh, why can't it just go where I want it to go?
It's easy, yeah.
Yeah. So
I also think that there's a lot that you'll learn as well shooting with the mirrorless cameras, that there's a lot of functions or features that you're not aware of because you've never had them before. So with the Sony, I know on the A9 you can actually take a photo, just say at a wedding, of the bride, and like at the first time of the day, and it will have some kind of recognition software that you can actually tell your camera that today, these 10 faces, I think it's maybe up to 10, are the faces I want to focus on today. So if you just pick the one and it's the bride or the bride and the groom, if you pick two, then all day when you're taking photos, it will detect the groom and the bride in the image and focus on them.
Like, do you use that? Is that what you do?
No, I know about it. I've never tried it. So like... But in between that, there's also so many different focus modes and zones that you can use that will allow you to get perfect focus every time. With the A9, I use A9 II. I use tracking where it'll just track the subject, and then you can change the kind of tracking. So if someone goes in front of the subject, it won't lock onto the person in front of them. It will keep on that person. And you can it's called live view tracking or something. So I can move the camera left and right, up and down, shake it around, and then come back, and it will still be tracked on this person. It's crazy.
This is something really important that I need to learn. Yeah, I need to actually dive 100%. Into, because I haven't even scratched the surface. You're right.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like anything you get, Photoshop or even our laptops. We're not using them to 100%. We're probably only using it, luckily, to be 10%. So, and it's not until you need it or you raise these questions that you actually understand what your camera's capable of. And I know before you were saying that it's an issue sometimes if you're in a cafe and you want to actually focus not really on the person, or you want to focus on something else. That's where I have quick buttons set up where I can turn face recognition off or face autofocus off. So then because that also is an issue sometimes. Just say I'm shooting a crowd at the rugby league game or something, and I just want to actually zoom in, track one person, then I'll turn off the face recognition altogether, because as soon as I flip my camera and then there's like 100 people, it's just going to go wild and not focus on what you want. So I think it's a lot more experience and trial and error of what modes you need to use when. Like there's too much. That's the thing. I know you're saying, what will they think of next? And I'm like, it's already too much to think of on the spot as well, because when you're in an environment where you need to think fast pace, or you need to get the shot, like weddings or events or things that you can't just replay, I feel that you need to be just on your game or understand how your camera works. So that's why the best tool in your bag is the one that the best, right? It's not necessarily the one with the highest megapixels or the one that costs the most. It's the one that you can get the most of in the situation. So
for sure.
But anyway, so the eye control it has happened.
Well, all right. Well, what else can I wear?
All right, what else you got?
So this is a pretty simple one, and I think it does exist to a degree, but the technology is not quite there yet. I don't know why. Like, I'm so precious now shooting mirrorless because I just feel like I've always got dust in my sensor. So I don't know why there's no mechanism that when you twist your lens onto the mount, I don't know why it wouldn't just shut a flap as you know, or as you twist it on, it opens the flap. As you remove the lens, it would close it just to protect the lens in that moment while it's exposed. Sorry, the sensor. I'm pretty sure I saw in one of the reviews of the A7 IV that just got announced. I'm pretty sure they have something in it that you can turn it on, and I think it takes 4 seconds when you turn off the camera for a little flap to cover the mirrorless sensor. But it's like 4 seconds is a long time. Like sometimes you don't have 4 seconds.
Too long. Yeah. So with the current cameras, I know I haven't really researched this either, but I know that sometimes when I'll turn off my camera, it'll the shutter will be over the sensor, and I'm like, yeah, why is that not just a thing all the time? And then when it finally turns off, like it might be some kind of slow turn off, it'll go back. But there should be the ability to do that. But on all, I guess in all mirrorless cameras, I know on ours, on the Sonys, there's actually a clean sensor mode, and what it does, I think, no, again, I'm just talking rubbish here, but I think it like does some like electronic like force field shake thing or something on the sensor, and it says, you know, cleaning in progress or something like that. So
okay.
They do that, yeah. But you're right. The last couple of weeks I've been shooting stuff in studio, and dust has kind of been an issue. So there has to be a way where it can just shut it off. So then, you know, especially if you're out in the elements, outdoors, you know, waterfalls, sand, beach, whatever, you really need that sensor to not be exposed.
I was talking about this today with Jared, and I was saying, I think perhaps that the reason that it's not more of an issue is because most people that shoot these cameras, I would assume, most people don't do the sort of thing where it would be a big issue. For example, you're saying you were shooting in a studio the other day, and you know, typically if you're doing product photography or you're doing anything, you know, super close, you need that extra depth of field. You need that, like, you need to really stop it down to get all the detail, and to get, you know, let's say you're going to clip something for a composite, you really need it sharp all the way through so you've got a good edge. So it's like if you're shooting, you know, f16, f20, you know, f22, whatever, that's when you're going to see every single imperfection on the sensor. But, you know, most people, to be honest, most people I know, I reckon, just live between, you know, 1.4 and 2.8, and you know, really their cameras don't change from that. Yeah,
and you would never have an issue. And a lot of people probably with these cameras, you know, they've gone out, they've bought the 24 to 70, which is expensive as hell, and then they've got the camera. So that's all they need as well. So they're probably not removing that lens as much.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas every shoot, you know, we might change at least between 1 or 2 lenses, and then sometimes, you know, on wedding days, depending on how many camera bodies we have access to, you could change up to 5 to 10 times in a day. So
easily, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. So what about built-in ND filters?
I rate them, and I think that I wish every camera had them, but I was reading something this week about it that was saying the cameras that do have the built-in ND, the variable ND filters, they actually can't have IBIS in them, so the in-body stabilization, because I think you either have one or the other. They both can't work at the same time, because the in-body stabilization is actually like, you know, stabilizing your camera, and the ND filter is just sitting there. So maybe the stabilization would go outside the filter or something. So I don't know. Interesting.
Well, it's funny you say that, because as far as I know, well, the only camera I can think of that has the built-in NDs is like the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Can you name any others?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So the FX6. Okay. I was using a Sony FX6 this week, and that built-in ND, variable ND, is a game changer. Like, it blew my mind. Yeah. just how easy it was, and the Sony has a what they call it's an auto ND. So yeah, it's crazy. So you don't even have to set the ND. You just set your shutter angle, boom, you're away. Like
Oh,
it's
that's so
next
good.
level. Yeah,
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 well, I'm
next
sure
level.
that's going to be something bigger in the future because just oh my god, what a hassle it is to just have a suite of filters. Like I don't do enough serious video work. Like the sort of video work that I do on a daily basis is just either little corporate stuff or kitchen walkthroughs or um, just this YouTube stuff or whatever. So it's not like I have this crazy video kit, but just for I feel like every photographer has to learn a bit of video now, and I feel like for most people that looks like you've got a gimbal and just a little bit of a rig, and you can just have what you'd call a run and gun setup, just something to get you
Yeah,
by for the 20% of video gear that can get you through 80% of
yeah.
what you
But
would
that
need.
it is a pain in the ass because I only have an ND8 and that's it. I just run that all the time. But you're right. Like I don't even have a variable ND just because I just want to keep it set the same, and then if I'm changing angles, or then I'll just change my my aperture normally, just because with
Yep.
the cine lenses I have, it's just easier to change the aperture rather than anything else. So
Yep.
but again, it's such a pain to have to just say you're doing those walkthroughs in the real estate or whatever. One way it could
Hmm.
be totally fine, and you turn back the other way, and then you don't need your ND filter, or you do. So, yeah, I guess that's where the variable ND really comes in handy. But I just had a bad experience years ago with just the when you turned them too much, it would get the X because it was just the polarization like against each
Ah,
other.
okay.
But
Yeah.
whereas like I know the new Polar Pro Peter McKinnon things, and then I think Moment do one as well, where it doesn't matter. You can just keep turning it, and then it'll start again, and it won't get this weird X that used to happen.
Yeah.
So they've
Okay.
obviously upgraded them and stuff, but again, that's a big cost. I think when you start investing in ND filters and really trying to get the most cinematic look out of your camera, you're adding up all these things, and it's so much more expensive. So you might have
Yeah.
cheaped out on the lens, but then all the accessories cost more than the actual lens. So I would always say, buy the best lens you can get, and then build everything else cheaper around it. So
See, that's sort of the opposite philosophy to. This is okay. This is something really controversial that I want to talk about. Maybe this is just a video. Maybe this is not a podcast idea. But I, looking back, I think I formed a lot of my opinions based on the photography YouTubers that I followed when I first started out. And if you remember Jared Poland, Frono's Photo,
yeah, yeah,
in the early days, he was one of the first big photography YouTubers, and I feel like he's very divisive. People either love him or hate him, and I think he gets a lot of shit. But I also think he deserves a lot of credit for what he's done in the space and for photography. He certainly was a really big part of me getting into photography. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. But what I was going to say was one of he's very opinionated, and one of his things was, if you have spent $2,000, $3,000 on a lens, don't put another shitty bit of glass on top of it. It's like either ditch the filters or dish out for an expensive filter, because why would
yeah,
you compromise your image quality by putting a $40 eBay special on your
yeah, yeah,
beautiful big bit of GM
yeah,
glass or L glass or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I think I agree there. Yeah, 100%. Because, and that's why, yeah, I'd go to Ted's or wherever was my local camera shop and buy, the proper ones. But yeah, I did buy some of the cheaper ones, and they were just rubbish. Like, yeah, even if they were just a UV filter or something like that, you could actually see. But I guess also with photo, it's probably more important. But I feel with video, it's almost it adds like a bit of character as well if you've got this
Yeah.
shitty eBay special, you know. So depends what you're shooting. If you're shooting corporate stuff that needs to be clean cut and all that, yeah, you probably need, you know, the right gear or just no filters. But if you're just shooting, you know, band clips or you know, whatever it is, I think you can just get away with some of the shittier stuff.
Yeah, that's
Just
fair. I
just to add
reckon
effects.
the it's funny how the movement can make up for so much. Like in as a photographer, I kind of think of video as more difficult than photography because I feel like, you know, photography I'm more comfortable with. But at the same time, there are a lot of ways that video I think is more forgiving because it's like you don't have to get everything in one single frame. You actually have a chance to tell a story with a movement or with the talent,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, holding up the narrative or whatever. So, you know, I feel like in that way, video has to be less technically flawless sometimes, at least in my experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, what else have we got? So, okay, this is another really big one. You know how when you take a photo on your iPhone or like a client shows you a photo on the iPhone and they're like, this is the reference, can you just do this? And it's sometimes unfair because there's some pretty complicated like computer business happening in it, you know, when you take a photo on an iPhone, right? So I sort of feel like an iPhone takes a photo closer to actually how we see things with our eyes. Like let's say you're at the beach at a sunset and you take a photo on the iPhone, you kind of get all the shadows and it doesn't really blow out the sunset too much. Whereas if you were to take that photo on a professional camera, you're getting one or the other. Like you're either getting the beach or you're getting a beautiful sunset, you know, with shadows in the foreground, but you're not really getting both. You know, there's all sorts of things that are possible with smartphones now that just are still actually not possible with professional cameras. Don't get me wrong, there's obviously so much more flexibility and control and whatever else, but if we could, and I'm sure this is coming, but if they could just work out a way to start integrating some of that technology to the professional realm, I feel like that is going to be, you know, that is going to fully change the future of photography.
Well, I think that, you know, we every camera, professional or not, has an auto button on there, right? And the auto button probably is that version. Like I never, even when I started, I never shot on auto. But I imagine if I was to give my professional camera to someone and I chucked it on auto, I think you'd probably be surprised at the results. You know, it might, if that sun's really harsh and there is that sunset, you know, it might choose f16 and, you know, have everything in focus and nothing blown out. And because I feel like unless you're on portrait mode on your iPhone, like, yeah, it does a pretty good job, but everything seems to be in focus, you know, so it's almost shooting at, you know, f16 or f22 a lot of the time because it is so in focus. Whereas like everyday stuff, you don't really just go around shooting at that, would you?
I'm going to strongly disagree with you there.
Really?
not just to be controversial. I think that perhaps I've explained myself wrong, but when, let's say I take a photo of a sunset over a beach, I think actually what the iPhone is doing is it's recognizing that the sky is a different exposure to the foreground, and it's taking two different exposures and combining them in the time that it takes to click the button. Because I don't necessarily think that that you don't have the settings right, and you know, the camera could maybe do a better job for you if you shot the A9 or A7 III or whatever, but I think it's more the fact that it's almost from an iPhone's perspective, it's almost not even photography anymore. It's the software is kind of doing the work.
Yeah, you're right. In saying that, I reckon there is a lot more stuff. You're right. It looks like it's like a stack or a multiple exposure to get that much dynamic range out of things. You know, even if you panning your iPhone from one end of the room to the other, it's always the correct exposure, right? Every now and then it wigs out, but
that's true.
A lot of the time it's that automatic instant. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So I think, yeah, they probably will put some of that technology. I'm just not sure. It amazes me that we can have something as smart and as just powerful as an iPhone, but then like other tools, like yeah, your camera, it's more expensive, it's bigger, it's bulkier, but it can't think as quick as an iPhone. You know, like the processor or
Yeah, yeah,
something, and
exactly,
even
exactly.
laptops. Like I'm like, how's my laptop so slow when my iPhone can process that? You know, like it's bigger, it should be better
Yeah,
technically.
yeah, yeah. I don't exactly know. It's a fine line because I feel like the phone photography thing is like, it's obviously for a different audience, and you could never turn any of that. I shouldn't say never, but you wouldn't turn that sort of thing in as professional work, because if you actually look at it on, a computer screen, or if you look at it in any professional setting, it's not going to hold up, but it looks amazing on your phone, right? And I think that's
Yeah,
kind of the advantage that the iPhone, or whatever phone that you have, I just say iPhone because I
yeah,
use iPhone, but I think that's
yeah,
the advantage of the format, is there everything is designed for that format. It's designed to be, not just designed to be shot on the format. So like, your phone's got a tiny lens and tiny sensor, but it's also got its own tiny computer specifically designed for that tiny lens and tiny sensor. But not just that, it's made to be viewed on that device. So it's sort of optimized
yeah,
for that screen and everything. So
yeah,
it's sort of like a little bit of an unfair comparison, but you're absolutely right. Why is it that, we've got this little computer in our hands, but we can spend, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a camera, and the camera
yeah,
doesn't have even, what we have in our pockets sort of level
yeah,
of intelligence inside of it. Anyway, it's just
yeah.
something I've been sort of stewing on a little bit lately.
That even the fact that my iPhone's an older version, but it can do 4K at 240 frames. Like most cameras can't even do that. Like they can't do that resolution at slow mo. Actually, my camera can't. It can only do 120 frames. So maybe it's because of the. I'm not sure even what the resolution on an iPhone would be. Maybe it's because it's only 10 megapixels or something, whereas my camera is trying to do 24 or 48 or whatever it is. But
Yeah,
still,
or either
no
that, or it's like
excuses.
a fake frame rate, right? I forgot
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how that works, but it's, what's the term, like interpolation or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like
okay.
not
Yeah.
it's not a true 60 frames or 120 frames or
Yeah,
whatever. So
okay.
it could be something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think the possibility of the merging of the two technologies is pretty exciting to me. That's something
Yeah.
that I'd be really interesting to see what happens.
There's one thing that, if we're talking about technology and how it's going to advance, the thing that I think I miss, well, I want from a camera is just Bluetooth audio out. Like, just let me wear my AirPods and film. I think how has that not happened yet? Because it's pretty annoying to have to physically connect and then you're kind of attached. You can't really go too far because you've got this cable around your ears.
Yeah,
And I just use weddings as examples, but yeah, if I'm filming a wedding and I wanted to monitor 3 or 4 different cameras, like yeah, I have to go over, plug in my earphones in again, or have 4 sets of headphones. So I think it's a pain in the ass. Whereas if everything just had, they have the ability to have NFC where you just tap the side of your camera and then it transfers. They have a whole Wi-Fi system. Yeah, why can't I have, and a Bluetooth to your phone? So why can't we have this connectivity just with the audio?
I think that's probably something to do with the stuff that we've been talking about, which is a camera doesn't have a little mini computer inside it. Unfortunately, it seems so silly, right? Because we're like, cameras have Bluetooth and they have Wi-Fi. Why couldn't you just connect your headphones to them?
Yeah,
Again, this was a conversation I was having with Jared, but I can only assume that it would just be a nightmare. So to put something like that in a camera, so like think about all the different types of Bluetooth and all the different types of Bluetooth devices, and then how much like troubleshooting and stuff it would be for a manufacturer to try and make something compatible with everything. I think this is why companies like Apple, love them or hate them, this is why they've been so successful, is because they focus so much on the user experience. So I have to say, shooting Canon and Sony cameras, it's not, very rarely do I think this is a really flawless, beautiful experience. When I have to look through a menu to find something, or I have to jump on Google to work out what setting it is that I am looking for, or what page it's on, it's not that same beautiful moment where you take a pair of AirPods out of the packet and you open up the lid and it says, these are Kurt's, would you like to turn on Kurt's AirPods?
Exactly.
That is amazing. That is like, from the customer's perspective, that is just a beautiful, seamless experience. And sure. Maybe that's a really good one to add to the list, Kurt, that the Bluetooth headphones, obviously that will make so many people so happy, but for camera companies to focus a little bit more on the experience and the joy of using the product rather than just features.
Just the numbers, I agree. Yeah. And I think that I think Fuji definitely focus on a bit more of an experience, and they make their cameras a little bit more traditional as well. So it feels like, there's a little bit of nostalgia just because of the form factor and the way that they work, but also like they're enjoyable to use. Like and then I think there's a couple of Nikons as well that they're making these like throwback kind of film style cameras where it takes you back to that time. Even we're too young to know that time, but even when I pick up a film camera now, I'm like, this is so fun to use because of the ergonomics or the the lack of features, maybe, I don't know. But it is more of an experience rather than, I feel like me, when I pick up any Sony camera, it's my workhorse, so I'm just working. Whereas if I do pick up something that maybe I'm more unfamiliar with, or something that like the Fuji cameras, like I pick it up, I'm like, this is so fun, like I don't know how to explain why I feel that way, but there's definitely a difference.
Do you still own any Fuji gear? I know you used to have some Fuji gear, didn't you?
Yeah. No. I had the X100 V and the XT2, XT3. So when I went to the XT4, I just bailed on it because it was too hard to juggle two different systems. Because I had all the lenses for one system, all the lenses for the other system, and it was just a double up of like lenses. Even though it was like a micro four thirds system and a full frame, they were still technically the same focal lengths, and like I really enjoyed some of the Fuji things. That's why I held on to them for so long, was because of I guess the different color science I liked on the Fujis, and also you could get like a faster lens for cheaper than what the G Masters are. So but again, it was like a user experience. That's why I enjoyed using this Fuji gear. It wasn't necessarily because I got a better image. It was just because I feel like it is more of a user experience, just having those different form factors. So
I totally get it. I have to say, years ago I had a X100S, and to this day it's the most fun camera I've ever had. I sold it so cheaply, and I kind of regret not keeping it, because it's still worth more now than what I sold it for. But regardless of that, it makes photography fun again. I don't know what it is about that camera. I mean, probably part of it for me was how just nice it looked to just strap it over my shoulder and just have it with me all day. But also just the color science, I guess, but something about it, I've just always loved. I kind of love the constraints of that camera. It's like a fixed 23mm which is like
Yeah.
is it a 35 or a 50 mil equivalent?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
maybe 30, 35, yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like, stop worrying about that other lens that's in your bag, or
Yeah, exactly.
you know, just make it work. And
Yeah.
that's probably the favorite camera that I've ever had.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, mine was the same, X100. Like, and the fact that they were able to put the same sensor and technology from the XT3 or XT4 into these bodies where they were fixed focal length, like, man, the autofocus was like ridiculous. So you weren't lacking on technology. It was just a bit more refined because you would use the dials instead of anything else. But yeah, I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna see if someone will sell me one.
As soon as I look, I've been thinking about it for so long, especially because I had the X100S, which never had that classic chrome.
Yeah,
What's it called? Picture style, which I've never got a chance to use, but some photographers that I really love swear by it, and they even shoot JPEG because they just like the shots straight out of camera. So I never got to play with that, but I think once I have, I have all sorts of things that I want to put money in to grow the channel. I think one day when I have some money to just play with, I'll get another one of those cameras.
Yeah. I think they're awesome. Maybe Black Friday sales will be, half price. And that's the thing. You could just shoot JPEG and just shoot. Yeah, there's a profile called Eterna. So I'm not sure what film stock that was based on, but man, that was it every time. And a lot of the time I did just shoot JPEG, just Wi-Fi it straight to my phone. I didn't need to edit it or anything. It was just already something that I thought was good enough to post. So yeah,
there's something so attractive about that for me. Like just to just to have with you at the barbecue, to take photos with your friends, or out for brunch with Jem or something. There's something so freeing about that thought, to just you don't even have to stick it on your computer. You can it's just good as it is. Yeah. Anyway, that's a good place to segue. Let's start to wrap up. Do you have a tool of the week for this week?
So let's go. Let's talk about this. This was the tool that I just used previously to set my white balance. It is something that if I do forget it on set, I'm pretty mad because, a lot of times, I guess it depends what you're filming or even shooting. You'll probably just shoot in auto white balance, right? And then you can just change it later. But I'm finding the more video that I do, it's harder to just trust the camera on the auto white balance setting. This setup here has got 20 different light colors, so at least now I can just stop it on this, pick this, and then it'll be somewhat right. So if we actually look on the first couple of these videos that we did, my white balance, I think I left it on auto, so it's just whack. I look like an avatar. So I guess today is a good good example of this color. What's it called? It's called the Color Checker Passport. So they have the different versions of this, and then they have software where you can calibrate your screens and monitors and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But I think color accuracy is really important in a professional environment. It used to be a lot more, probably because everything was print and it had to look right, whereas now everything is digital. So it's like, from my iPhone to your iPhone to someone's Android, the colors are going to be different. So it probably doesn't matter as much, but I mainly use it just for that white balance tool, just to make sure I can get accurate skin tones. So what about you? What's your
I think I might have mentioned this before, but this maybe it was before we were recording. This is not actually the one. This is just got a USB-C, but Apple make this little dongle, which is just SD card to Lightning, so I can just put it straight into my phone and do a little edit on Lightroom Mobile or something. And I've had this thing for like 5 or 6 years, I reckon, and I've got to say it is the best photography accessory that Apple make, because now, even though the technology is better now for sending a photo from your camera to your phone with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever, and maybe this is something you can help me with. I have, in all my research, I've never found a way to be able to send a full resolution file, a full resolution RAW file to my phone. It's always like basically like a preview. If you zoom in, it's soft and it doesn't look good. And if I do that, I think I'm a failed photographer. But I look at the computer and the file's great. Whereas this little SD card to Lightning, so quick, so easy to use. You don't have to muck around and sync, turn the Wi-Fi on and connect the camera. Just whatever camera you got, stick the SD card in right in the bottom of your iPhone, and you get the actual resolution RAW file. Game changer. So good to have.
That actually, again, now I'll buy that, because that sounds so much better. Because if I'm shooting a lot of the golf stuff I do, they'll need stuff, if it's hole by hole, someone gets knocked out or the leaderboard changes, they need an updated image. So normally I would just Wi-Fi it from my camera to my phone, and you're right, it's soft. I got to go into some crappy app to like sharpen it a bit and make it a bit better, and I haven't found an app even that would make the photo good enough, for a professional thing. But I mean, a lot of the time the client, they're not too picky either, so they're just like, they don't know that it's soft, but me inside, I'm like, it's just not as sharp as it should be. The image isn't the best, and I never want to hand over something that isn't the best or post something that isn't truly what, the ability that you have. So I think that's great. The only issue that I would have with that is the amount of images that I capture to try and sift through that. So is there an easier way to select that on your iPhone, or does it bring it up in an app, or like how does that actually process it?
So on the Photos app on your iPhone, when you plug in, there's an extra tab and it says import, and it'll just show you everything on the SD card. So you just go through and you just tick, you choose the ones you want and then import, and that way you don't have to sift through the whole card.
Wow.
It is just virtually invaluable, and like you say, sometimes people want something for social or for stories or whatever, and I actually won a job just recently. A mate needed a photographer last minute. He works for a company that does like wine and cheese festivals almost. I went down, helped them out with one of their events just for like an hour or something. And he's like, oh, look, we need someone last minute, blah, blah, blah. The guy we normally got can't do it, whatever. Anyway, I shot a few pics, and then when there was a bit of a lull, I just zip back around the back, zap a couple to my phone, and I'd send them to the boss man. And he was
that's
chuffed.
it.
He was posting them straight away. He was so chuffed. And now I just got booked this weekend. I'm going to do another big event, paying really well. So it's I love it.
I think to have the ability to not only have that image quickly, but for it to be a quality image, that's priceless. Like, the client doesn't care how they get the image or whatever. All they know is, I want it right now. And this, have a $50, $60 device, I don't know how much they are, allows you to be a professional like that. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know. I'm definitely going to pick one up, just to get me out of those situations where, or, even sometimes I'd run back to my station where I am and plug it in, and then you'd quickly chuck it on, quick edit, up, export it. And that's, sometimes you don't have that time to do that. So that's sick.
And not just that, sorry to keep the podcast dragging on, not just that, but your style, I think, is very defined by your look in the edit. I think you have a very much, over a number of years, I think I could pick a photo of yours out of a group quite easily. And, the fact that now on Lightroom Mobile, you can have all your presets from desktop.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
See, I don't even see these things I'm learning now. Like, I don't use Lightroom mobile. Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't use
I
it that
need to
much,
sync that.
but I need to use it more. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's the option to, you know, speed up your workflow or have an desired output, these things are just great. And that's that user experience again, like that you're talking about, that Apple provide, right? They're like,
Yeah,
hey, this, that, and then I guess even Adobe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, man, let's leave it there. Thank you so much. Another one in the books.
All right. Done. Thank you.
I always forget how to finish. Okay, here's one thing I want to say. Thank you so much. If you've made it to the end, if you've made it this far, could you please leave an octopus emoji in the comments? I think we've done a squid, we've done a frog, and I think it's really fun when people see all the little octopi down below and they don't really realize what's going on there. So if you made it this far, please leave me a little octopus emoji. I would also like to know if you have been watching these. I think this is episode 4 from memory. I think This is episode 4. If you've been watching these, is it valuable for you to have an audio only version? I've been trying to work out whether to put them on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. For now it's just YouTube, but we'll see. But if you want an audio only version, I need you to let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. You can find Kurt at Instagram at Kurtogram, Kurtogram. You can find me just about anywhere at PJPantelis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Beautiful.